Today's episode is brought to you by Studio Art Quilt Associates. Celebrating its 30th anniversary this year, Studio Art Quilt Associates is an international nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting the art quilt and the artists who create them. SAQA offers a wide range of exclusive resources and professional opportunities for its members, including access to a museum-quality exhibition program that travels artwork around the world. Check it out at SAQA.com. Thank you so much, SAQA. And now, here's the show. Episode 137 of the While She Naps podcast. I'm Abby Glassenberg. Today, we're talking about becoming a fabric designer with my guest, Katarina Roccella. Katarina was born in 1975 in Belgrade, Serbia, where she lives with her husband and 3 kids that are true inspiration for her work. In 1998, she graduated from the Faculty of Applied Arts at the Department of Graphic Arts, and in 2003 got a master's degree. She started on her PhD thesis in Applied Arts and Design in 2014. Nina works as a licensed artist for Art Gallery Fabrics and has created 14 fabric collections for them. And we're going to talk about how that came to be. So, Nina Roccella, welcome.
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much, Abby, for inviting me to be part of your show. I really enjoy listening to it.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. And you are my first guest who is talking to me from Serbia. So this is pretty exciting.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to hear.
I had a guest once from South Africa, but it's cool to talk to people all over the world. So
yeah, it's incredible that, modern technology allows you to travel the world in seconds, like even from, being in your own chair and in your own space at home.
Yeah, totally. It's great. So, so we'll talk a little bit about that. You were born and raised in Belgrade, and your family, when you were growing up, it sounds like they were pretty creative people themselves, and both of your parents were artists. Is that right?
Yes, that is completely right. I was raised in an artistic family. Actually, my father, she's a painter. My mother, she's a ceramic, she's a pottery artist. And also I have a young sister. I mean, she's just 3 years younger than me, but she's very professional, let's say, production designer. And actually growing in such an environment where, everybody would create daily, it's absolutely inspired, let's say, my profession and also my professional inspiration and my life.
Yeah, I bet. So what kinds of things were, going on in your household with a father who was a painter and a mother who was a ceramic artist? What kinds of things do you remember making specifically, when you were a kid?
Yes, actually, it was like living in a studio because my father, he had like a room in the apartment where we were living that he would be painting there. And my mother, she also had a pottery studio just, let's say, in the basement. So it was just, our stairways away from our home. And she would go, like sometimes even she would come to cook lunch for us, and then she would go back and, do the work there. So it was. And then she would just bring some pottery stuff and, ceramics that she would be doing there. So we were actually, just surrounded with everything. And our table, that was like the kitchen or dining table, it was used for all these kinds of creation and creative outputs that, my parents, they had. So eventually, my father, he was also doing some kind of posters or calligraphy things. And my sister and I, we would sit and trying to imitate him, doing these all kinds of things. And we would also be, drawing and painting like on a regular basis because, the tools like pencils and paintings would be spread all over the place. So it was really great, being in such a positive and crafty environment.
Yeah, sounds like it. It was just a natural part of your day to day.
It was.
Yeah. And so did you want to be an artist too? I mean, I think some kids in that environment would see themselves following that same path. And some kids would say, well, this is not what I want to do. I want to do something completely different.
Yeah, they were trying to like talk us out of being artists because they would say like this is something that is not so like well paid, or eventually it's not such a nice work in sense of, because my mother, she would be working with clay, and her hands would be dirty, and with my father, the smells of the turpentine and oil paints and everything that was not so like nice and clean. So they would be, talking us to go study eventually, medicine or something, that is completely different. But I think that they were just joking, because I think that eventually when you're an artist, you would want your kid eventually even to go and to be an artist as well, because it's something that, the creativity, I think it's very positive thing to change, to try, to explore, to do this kind of thing. So I knew since, very, very small and early age that I really wanted to be, creative and to be an artist. And I remember that I really enjoyed drawing some girlish outfits, like, drawing just the girls and then the outfits that the girl would wear, So I was dreaming about being eventually the costume designer at that time, at early age. Mm-hmm. Then after finishing the elementary school, so I was the age of 13, I started to attend the high school, and the high school was for design because I didn't want to go to any kind of gymnasium or something like that, because I knew straight ahead that I wanted to do a designer, to design something. So I was studying the packaging design at a high school. Okay. And I think that it was my first encounter with the surface design, actually, because we were doing, emballage and, packaging design for many kind of products. So that's
interesting. Yeah, that's a neat exposure to get pretty young. And even with drawing the girls and drawing the dresses on the girls, that is also a kind of surface design and textiles and interest in fashion and textiles, so that sort of spark of that was even there when you were pretty young, it sounds like.
Yeah. Absolutely. Then eventually in high school, I realized it doing something that is maybe more like, graphic design, to do something that after a few years, I can eventually, even apply in some other fields of design, because I wasn't quite sure at that age that, being or graphic designer or textile or, I don't know, costume designer is just only that I want to achieve and be. So I wanted to try different kind of mediums, different kind of techniques and stuff. So after I actually didn't finish the high school immediately, because after there are 4 years of high education here in Serbia, and after third year, there is something that is called like pre-exam before entering to the university. So I did some exams in a way to pass that fourth year of studying high school, so that I can enter university earlier. And I was so lucky to pass these exams, and I was attending the university at the age of 17. So it was like 1 year earlier. Then during that first year of university, I eventually even did the exams from the high school. So I have even that grade of studies.
Got it.
Yeah, because at that age, I started to do some more calligraphy things, and I was very interested in lettering and calligraphy. So I thought that maybe if attending the graphic design, because there was also calligraphy and lettering subject and material within that department. So that's why actually I wanted and applied for that department. So after a few years, after having also some other subjects and matters and everything during university, I eventually realized that doing graphic design, and also printing was one of the main subjects in my, let's say, first love also during these years. So I really fall in love in process of printing and doing lino cuts. At those years of studying, I remember that it was a very bad situation here in our country because of the war that we had. So we were very also limited in our, let's say, materials that we could use for printing and for doing graphics. So a lino cut and linoleum was something that was, let's say, cheapest. So that's why many of us actually took this medium for, researches and, studies, projects and stuff. But I really felt in love with that because I realized that I could do lino cut in colors. So by doing, 3 or 4 colors per lino cut, I actually tried to make the printing process being more close to the painting, with oils or anything else. And I really enjoy doing that.
Right. And so it's almost like the political unrest that was going on in Serbia while you were in college and really limited the access to the materials that were available, made it so that it's linoleum, right? That you're cutting when you're making a lino cut. Right. Yes. So that was a material that was available. And so you had that limitation, but for you, it almost sparked like more creativity because you applied, different layers of colors and almost kind of created the effect of a painting.
Yes. But I think that these limitations that we had to figure how to use different kind of materials and tools in order to achieve something else, something that is not, let's say, normal with lino cuts. So we weren't using just the tools that were like some kind of the knives, for cutting and for making some kind of incisions on the materials, but we were using also some kind of the glues or some kind of coatings and stuff that we could use to obtain some kind of the textures other than the texture that only the knives would provide. So I think it was very interesting how sometimes when you're limited with something and you don't have access to everything, you actually are trying to give yourself and to maybe be more creative, to do things that you would never actually do in the normal situation.
Yeah, not that we would wish that on somebody, but at the same time, right. But at the same time, if you have to live through it in that way, there was almost like a rainbow that came to you as part of it. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So after graduation, you were working, right? And what kind of work did you do after graduation for those years?
After I finished the faculty, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. After I finished the faculty and after my master's,
right.
I started immediately working on the faculty as assistant to professor. And I was assistant to the drawing and painting, and also for the subject that is literally translated called nude. There is like a model that is almost every time, with no clothes. And the students would have like either 2 hours to draw the figure, or there was like croquis. It's like, I don't know if croquis means something is in English, maybe more in French, but it's like a very quick study that would be done in like 2, 3, even less minutes. So your let's say your task in these small minutes would be to get, the rhythm of the figure or something that would, get your attention when looking at the model, that was posing. So that was what I was doing. So I was, teaching assistant and doing these creative things with students, helping the professor, to have classes. And that lasted for almost 10 years. That was the faculty, actually. It was not in Belgrade, where I live. It was in the city of Kragujevac. It's like 1 hour and a half drive, and it's very nice faculty. And that was for the applied arts and also languages.
Okay.
I was really fortunate to be working there and, to have this kind of interaction with students and I really loved working there. And also, I was doing, many freelance design jobs. Like, as I said, calligraphy was one of them. And I had many, let's say, institutions that would, take me to draw or to do the lettering for them, like diplomas for certain events and stuff like that. And also, then in 2006, I also had my own, let's say, kids level of clothing.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So, okay, so first though, you met your husband, right? You got married before this, right? So your husband's Italian. So where did you meet him? Did you meet him while you were teaching?
No, that came after. I met him when I was on the third year of the university studying, and we actually met in Italy, in Bari, which is the city where he lived. We met through a friend that, I just came there, and I met some friends in Greece where I was, on vacation. They invited me to come to visit them. So one of them was friend with my husband. So that's how we met.
Okay. So you got married and you had children, and was it through becoming a mom that you started sewing?
Yes, exactly. So I married. It was in 1999, and in those, I didn't finish yet. In 98, I finished the academy, but then I took the master's, which was like usually 3 or 4 years more of studying. And then in 2001, I got my first daughter. And after getting my first daughter and, staying more at home with, a need to create, I discovered the field of textile designs and, let's say, fabrics before everything, because it was something, staying at home and being crafty with, a need to create. The fabrics were very affordable. I mean, not affordable like in money speaking, but affordable in the sense of you don't need to have a special place to create or to go outside of your home to, like I was doing, because I had a printing studio that was situated in the same, let's say, basement where my mother was doing her pottery work. So it was outside of my home where I was living with my husband. So instead of going outside, because my kid was very small and I really wanted to be staying at home with her, so I had to find a creative outlet, and, doing the things with fabrics was actually first.
Yeah. That's actually a great point, and maybe something that people don't quite talk about that much, which is that sewing, because it is something you do domestically, and a sewing machine is a domestic, exactly, home appliance, like a blender or something else that you would have in your home that most people have in a home. But it's something that you can make art with. And so unlike needing a kiln, for pottery, or needing a printing studio, or needing good ventilation, or, there's so many things, needing a weaving loom. I mean, there's so many things that creating art of those sorts means that you have to leave the house for. With a sewing machine, you can stay in that domestic sphere and still create something really beautiful. And so in that way, it's a natural sort of something you can turn to.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right. And by that time, I didn't have my own sewing machine. So as my mother, there was a period of her life that she was trying also to sew and to do something on the sewing machine. So I repaired that sewing machine. I bought some Burda magazines that were the only one available in my country at that time. I mean, now the situation is not much better, let's say, because we have Burda, and then we have some Italian magazines, and we have the Dutch, I think, Ottobre occasionally. But at that time, Burda was the only thing available. So I bought them, and I tried to figure by myself, how to do something and how to sew. And as I had a little daughter, I wanted to do, some kind of the twirly, skirts for her. Because also at that period, there weren't many, let's say, big shops, like, H&M and Zara and these kind of shops. We didn't have them here in Belgrade because the situation was by that time still, not so, let's say, well. So I had to find something, and to be able to make her some twirly skirts and, fashionable clothes and stuff like that. So step by step, I tried, to sew by myself, trying some more, techniques and stuff. And I realized that it's not something that is, so hard to do, especially if you say, when you have good machine, because the first one that I was using from my mother, it was okay, but it wasn't like, very, very well. So then I bought my first sewing machine. It was like in 2005, let's say. And then, I felt so much relief because with that, it was very basic one as well. It wasn't something fancy or anything, but I could do like zigzag, things. And for me, it was wow,
I want to take a minute now and talk with our sponsor, SAQA, and a member of the SAQA communications team, Maria Schell.
My name is Maria Schell, and I am a member of the communications team for the studio Art Quilt Associates, also known as SAQA.
And what is SAQA?
Well, SAQA is, we're 30. That's big news. We're 30 years old this year, and we are really the organization in the world that's dedicated to promoting the art quilt and really all aspects connected to the art quilt, whether it's the artists, the collectors, the galleries, museums. We're all about the art quilt. Our membership is always right around 3,400, and 20% of our members are outside the United States. So we have members in 36 other countries all around the world. And we have 2 publications that come out, SAQA Journal, which is for our members, and then we have Art Quilt Quarterly. It's a really beautiful magazine that shares the art of our members, in particular the juried artist members. And that publication goes out to museums and galleries and collectors and curators. We have educational programming. We have SAQA webinars. So those are for our members. We do special events, educational events throughout the year that take place over a series of weeks that are about design and art concepts. We have regional activities, and regions are all sort of tailored. We have regional reps, and they sort of tailor the programming to fit their region. We have exhibitions that our members submit work to that travel the world. Usually an exhibition will debut somewhere major, like we have one debuting this month at the Texas Quilt Museum, and then it'll travel the world for 2 years. Anyone can join that's interested in the art quilt. And then we have the juried artist members. So that membership is tailored towards professional artists. And then we also have an affiliate program. So if you are, say, the Modern Quilt Guild is a affiliate member.
And if people want to learn more about becoming a SAQA member or just kind of want to check it out, where can they go?
Well, our online presence is SAQA, SAQA.com. And we're actually in the middle of getting a new website. So that's pretty exciting. Lots of information is available on the website. We also have a Facebook page, which is SAQA on Facebook, and then we have an Instagram profile. And we are at most major quilt festivals. So we'll have a booth at QuiltCon. We always have a booth at the International Quilt Festival in Houston and at many of the other ones. So you can look for us there too. And that way you could actually talk to someone in person about SAQA. It is an organization that really supports its members in an assortment of ways.
Thank you so much, SAQA. And now back to my conversation with Nina.
And then the year after that was when I really, took, some good skills, and I was quite comfortable with, trying more complicated things. Then I actually bought a serger, and then, another world was open in front of me because, serger was really something else. And it's so, easy. It makes you sew things so much easier and so much, more, let's say, professional. And I was really, relieved and so happy when I purchased, my first serger.
Yeah. And so you started this clothing brand, which we referred to earlier, like Flowers and Butterflies, and a blog that went with it in 2006. So it sounds like pretty quickly after you got the new machine and got the serger.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, was the impetus to start a business with it? Because some people, they're going to sew for their daughter, but just because they want to, and they're not going to make it into a business. I'm wondering, was that because, these sorts of clothes weren't necessarily available where you were in Belgrade, and were your friends and family members saying, oh, we want some too, can you make them for us? Or was there a local boutique that wanted to stock them? And that's not kind of, in other words, was there demand and that's why you started a business? Or did you find the online sewing world and say, oh, wow, look, people are doing this online, I can do this online? Or what was the reason to start it as a business?
Yeah, okay. The first thing that it was actually one after another, because I started to buy so many fabrics online, because in my country at that time also we couldn't have, we have some not quilt shops, but let's say fabric shops that you could go and, buy fabrics. But the selection of the prints wasn't something amazing. I mean, nothing like you can, go in some US shop and say, I want cherries. Let me see cherries in different kind of colorways and, stuff. And it wasn't like that. So if I wanted something very nice and something that I would, visualize in my head, I had to go online to shop. So that's how I discovered, some US shops, and let's say Fat Quarter shop was one of the first one that I began shopping.
That's fun. Yeah.
I started spending so much money on fabric because, I had to have them. And I actually had to find something that it would be creatively spending money, So I was looking for something that I can make this money, return. And as I was, sewing these clothes for my daughter, and also some of the friends were like, oh my God, this is so cute. Can you maybe, sew something for my daughter too, and stuff like that. So I tried, I wasn't very, let's say, comfortable sewing and selling things to others, because when you have somebody that is friend to you and selling, it doesn't, feel right. Because I was like, no, let's just give it away to you. It's like, it's nothing, stuff like that. But I still had to earn some money in order to spend them, on fabric. So it was like a circle. So actually I found online on eBay, actually, there was like a sewing community at that time. There were like boutique groups, actually. And I remember I was in a few of them, because they were like leveled, let's say. There were a few that were with very, let's say, famous people, famous seamstresses and designers within. So the more, let's say, not famous, but more people would, come and want to buy your designs. Those groups that were popular would maybe come and ask you to be part of these design groups.
I see.
So I remember there were also at that time a few designers that were also having their own fabric clients already. Like I remember Sandy Henderson was one of the first. So I was also because we're also some kind connected. I don't remember actually what was the let's say our website or the program that we were using for chatting and doing things like that. I think it wasn't photo shoot, but it was something.
Maybe it was Flickr.
Yeah, I was trying. It wasn't Flickr, and actually I cannot remember what was the one we were using. But you would talk and you would gather. We were having like a team launches, I remember, for instance, when Anna Maria Horner, she had her second line, I was in the group that were participating in doing the launch for the chocolate lollipop, line coming out and stuff like that. So it was very interesting, to meet those other people. And many of them were, from the US. There were some seamstresses from the Germany, but usually they were from US. And we were gathering together, doing the launches on a team. It would be either a fabric collection, the collection that would be new on the market, or it would be some other theme, like, maybe holiday, like Halloween, or I don't know, New Year or something like that. So it was very interesting, to see some other designers, the outfits it was usually for the girls. There were just a few doing the, outfits for the boys as well, but doing the outfits for these special occasions for girls was really a huge thing. And I remember, because it was like a bidding and auctions on eBay, there were a few outfits that would even go for like thousands of dollars at that time. It was like, wow, spending some money on an outfit, it was something, crazy for me. So actually I started to do some outfits with a theme. Like I remember, Alice in Wonderland, or some crazy, I don't know, or holidays or themes or something that would be, not like everyday, clothing. So it was very creative, and it would be like a way to come with something, out of the box. And that's the way that, even my sewing skills would becoming better and better. And, meeting people and going toward those groups that were, let's say, popular was something that I was really proud of,
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah, it's like eBay. These eBay groups were like your entree into the world of sewing and developing your skills and networking and sort of getting introduced to what was out there and what was available and what was possible. Interesting. Yeah, that's so interesting that it came through eBay though. Because that's a pretty.
It was. Sorry.
It's an unusual. It's just an unusual entry point, I think. But maybe at that time it wasn't that unusual.
It was that Etsy. I think I don't remember. Maybe you know the year that Etsy actually appeared. Maybe 2000.
It was 2005 in the summer.
Wow.
Yeah.
That time I didn't even know about that. It wasn't, popular, and you would never go to, buy, let's say, fabric on Etsy. You would always go on eBay,
On eBay, right. Yeah, right. So back then that was the main e-commerce if you wanted to be able to sell something. Yeah, that does make sense. And so how were you introduced to Spoonflower, right? Because it seems like you started to design fabrics yourself for these dresses pretty soon after you started designing the dresses themselves.
Yeah, I actually figured that it would be amazing to have, an outfit created with my own fabrics. And I discovered, I don't remember precisely how I discovered Spoonflower. It was like recommendation from a friend, or it was just something that appeared, online, so I would go click. But I remember that once I discovered it, I was really amazed with all the opportunities that it was offering, like, selecting your own cloth base, for printing fabric. And also there was amazing community of designers that were so friendly and supporting. And actually we were talking through Flickr. There was those Spoonflower groups, and it's really, really outstanding, the way it was working. And also Spoonflower, they had some themed contests, and it would actually, some kind, in a way, push you toward, trying the themes, or, even sometimes, selection of colors that you would never, normally using. And that was actually, a way to also make my skills be more, let's say, professional and better regarding, designing fabrics. Because the time that I started doing this on Spoonflower, I really didn't, know much about that, regarding the repeats and, all the other things. It was in correlation with, fabric design.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But after a while, it sounds like you must have had quite a portfolio on Spoonflower.
Yes, because, those contests, because each week there is another contest. And when you are trying to give your vision on a team to do, like an entry for the contest, you would eventually try different kind of ways, or even the blenders or something, that would be, in combination with those main fabrics. So, step by step, week by week and year after year, I actually achieved very good skills, and I had a very nice, portfolio of designs. So
right.
that was, the time that I realized that maybe I could even, submit this kind of portfolios and designs to some U.S. companies, because here locally I didn't have an option to do that, because we didn't have any kind of, industry and, company doing that. And that's how I tried and started to pitch this portfolio online to companies. And of course, our Gallery Fabrics was my first choice. And back to, I think it was 2009 that I, sent that online portfolio. Actually, I created the link from my own website, and, I sent to them. And I remember that, the answer from them, and also from some other companies that I after, sent the same link to, it was usually no, or it was something like, thank you, you're so, talented, your designs are so nice, but at the moment we are not, thinking about taking another designer, or we don't have a room for this kind of, artist or something like that, So it was very, encouraging at the beginning. And after a few years, I realized that maybe, doing the portfolio that is printed and not just sent online, because I was trying to think that maybe some companies wouldn't even have time, like, to click, on a certain link and then go and browse through like 500 or even, more designs. So I thought that maybe printing a portfolio and sending, and our Gallery Fabrics was definitely my first choice, as I said. So I printed portfolio and sent to them. And I think
when you say you printed the portfolio and sent it to them, do you mean that you printed fabric swatches, or do you mean that you printed it on paper?
Okay, I printed some swatches through Spoonflower, and I remember that I sent to them maybe just a few of them, like maybe 2 or 3, just, like for comparison or something. And it was a very nice A3 portfolio that was printed. It was like a book. And it contained I think it was like maybe 30 or 40 designs with a theme. And I remember my first collection that I created, I named it Doily. And it was a way to present to them this particular collection. So I didn't spend like thousands, or I don't know how many, designs. I just print that one collection that I was really thinking that it was like, making the best presentation of how and what I do.
Okay. And did you send it to more than one? I know Art Gallery was your first choice, and obviously things worked out really well with them, but did you send it to more than one place, because you had sent it to more than one place previously, or did you just send it to them?
No, I just sent it to them because I was really hoping that, they would take me. Because, when I was looking even online to all those companies, somehow our Gallery Fabrics was, different than the others in sense of, presentation. And even I like the thing that they had this kind of the organic touch and, vision of the fabric and fabric company. And I thought that maybe that would be my best fit. And I was really, hoping that they would take me. And I only printed that one portfolio. And then I was like, when I sent it, I thought that this is the last, time that I'm going to do that, because after that, I think that I'm just going to stop and, I'm going to be, continuing my life without that, try. And I was so lucky that actually Pat liked my portfolio, and we began to talk on Skype. And that's that's how our conversation actually and our life together started.
I see. Yeah. And I mean, I think that the part of your story really speaks to the importance of persistence. So you had first sent these in 2009 and, at that time, nothing clicked and you went back again. This was in 2014, right? When you went back again?
Yes, it was in 2013 that actually we started to talk and eventually even to finalize the collection. But it was something about, we didn't do it in time. So instead of going out on the fall of 2013, my collection was went out. I think it was June in 2014. But it was since 2013 that I was actually, I was licensed designer and I have the papers and agreements signed with them. So I was so happy and I was feeling so lucky actually because it was really a big, dream come true. I was so happy. And I remember it was the first day of spring of 2013 that I got, that big yes from Pat and I was, jumping from joy. I just couldn't believe. Yeah, because after all those, trials and yes, I still am so stubborn, when I think about something, I really had to do that, and I was really hoping that after all those efforts and, trials, I would eventually, succeed in doing what I really wanted to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And you weren't quilting at this time because it sounds like there's not really a quilting tradition in Serbia. Like there's not, do I have this right that there's not really a word for quilt in Serbian?
Exactly. Yeah. We more have like words for something that would be more like blanket, or something that you would cover yourself with. But the quilt is actually a word that it's not in our dictionary. And when I submit my works, for some exhibitions and shows, I just don't translate it. I just, leave or patchwork or quilt. And, it's something that, don't have translation in my language. So
has it been hard then to talk about what you are doing with the people locally that parents of your kids, friends, and just, people that you meet? Because, at least I find it hard. Let's put it this way. Yeah, I find it hard to talk about what I do. And at least here, everybody knows what a quilt is. But still people think what I do is really odd. And so I imagine if people really didn't have any context at all, it would be just so difficult to explain the importance and the, relevance of what it is that you're spending all your time on.
Yes, it is, because I think in their heads, it's something that is more in relation with, old people. Because when you say, patchwork and quilting, I think that many people here would imagine somebody, sitting in the rocking chair, with the glasses and, gray hair and stuff like that, doing something as a craft or a hobby, but not that somebody younger would eventually, do something like that for like some art show or something like that. So, but on the other hand, because I was doing most collages or collage, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. I was doing the collage with paper, and many parts of this collage were even textiles. So for these people that were, surrounding me, doing the collages now with real fabric instead of, papers, would be something that would be like, natural as something that would, let's say, rise or come after, paper collages or collages.
Okay. So and those collages that you were making, were they part of the fabric design or were they something separate that you were doing?
No. They were just, for instance, when I was also studying on the university, doing the sketches for my printings, they would be also all in a collage technique.
I see.
So that was the technique that I was really, fond of. And it was like my best way of expressing myself through those pieces of paper, finding the perfect composition and, a touch of color and everything. So I think it really also helped, understanding the technique of patchwork and and quilts and quilting. And yes, also when I started doing, this fabric design work, I didn't have idea actually about, what quilt and quilting is. I actually purchased some quilt books, and I was reading, and I was really, enjoying reading them. And I was trying to do some patchwork and, things on my own. But I remember that even after I had my collection, the Indelible was out in 2014, and I had to present it on the Quilt Market. I was joining pieces of fabrics, doing the quilts on my serger.
Uh-huh.
And for me, that was like, natural, because serger is something that would, have, so much time saving, for, piecing all by hand or by machine. So doing everything with serger was natural for me. And then I remember that there were some people, some very new, friends that, I met during the quilt market, and they were like, laughing and saying, "Oh, the quilt police will come after you if they realized that you were, you was."
That's true. The quilt police will get you if they see the back. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I felt so ashamed because I was thinking that I was doing something. I never thought about, all the little details that, come and go into the process of making a quilt. And because I was usually just, looking at the final result, the quilts that were, finals, and I would visually, trying to see, I don't know, the combination of colors or shapes on, composition and stuff like that, or using of texture, without, thinking about the technical details. And I remember that when I sat down to do my first quilt, I wanted to do something that is not like so easy. So I was looking at the quilts that were using the drunkard set, and it was something that is round. And as I didn't have any template at home at all, I just used the normal, plate, the porcelain plate, and I was, cutting the fabrics with the plate. And for me, it was normal. So my shapes were like very organic, but I have this quilt, and I still when I look at it, I still think it's, very unique and almost, something that is like a piece of art,
I know. Gosh, you know what? I hear you. I have pretty mixed feelings about the quilt police, I got to tell you, but I think in some ways it discourages people from just tracing their porcelain plates and going for it. And there's pretty much nothing wrong with that. So, because that's kind of like the way to dive in and be creative. I mean, I get the other side of it. I don't know. I hear both sides, but
yeah.
Okay.
Still you get something that you wanted to get, like the final result is there. It's just a different technique, of seeing and doing things.
Okay. So you came, as you said, to the United States to go to Quilt Market and present the collection. And that was your first trip to the US. So, this opportunity to have your fabric manufactured by Art Gallery Fabrics really led to so many interesting things. But one of them was to be able to travel here to the US. So I'm wondering what that trip was like for you. And I mean, I know you've been back, many times since, but that first trip, it must have been pretty exciting. And I'm just wondering, what you remember about it, sort of what your impressions were and what was maybe the same or different from what you thought you would find when you got here.
Yeah. It was my first trip to US, and I was, really, so happy to be able to do that. And I traveled with my husband, and actually because I'd never been, of course, in New York, and the first quilt market was in Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh was relatively close to the New York. So we took like 3 or 4 days of, visiting New York before going to the quilt market. And I remember that it was really amazing. First of all, because my husband and I, we never had like a honeymoon together because, everything was, happening so fast, one thing after another in our lives. So that travel to US was something, even for us, so, awesome. And I loved New York. I really enjoyed, going and, visiting, places and galleries and, everything. It was so huge and so different. And, that hugeness, if I can say it like that, it was something that was really impressed because there is no other cities. I mean, all U.S. cities are so huge and so, the streets are wide. There is so much like air from one corner to another. And it's so much different than from Europe. And I think it's more or less how I imagined. And I remember that I really love the people, and people are so friendly and open, especially our, let's say, quilt world and industry. You would, go and talk to people for the first time and you feel like you know them for like forever. You would really make, some friendships like immediately. And I really loved that. I feel amazing. I really remember everything. And that first Quilt Market was actually the one that was most crowded from what I can remember, because after I went, almost I think every year I went for the spring show. And that one in Pittsburgh was really, really crowded. It was so many people. I remember that I was standing and talking from opening till the close of the show. Yeah, it was exhausting, even, speaking the foreign language and,
it's so tiring.
It is, but it was like something stunning that I really, really, it was happening only then and only for that time. And I really felt amazing. And
what a neat opportunity. That's just really cool. Yeah. So, and I wondered if you learned anything about fabric design from that first collection, because I've talked to quite a few fabric designers and a lot of them have said, I made my first collection and it came out and I marketed it, went to Quilt Market, etc. And after that one, I realized that when you design a collection, you need to do this, or when you market a collection, you need to do that. And so I started to do those things, but that first one I didn't know. And so I didn't do those things. And I'm wondering if you can share some of those learnings that you got.
Yes. I mean, fortunately, we have Pat, that is our artistic designer.
This is Pat Bravo, who's...
she's really amazing. I mean, she really, lead us through the process or from, starting the collection till... And after it's not, if it's not perfect, it's not going to be out there. So I think that, finalizing the collection with her, you would go and you would learn so much and so many things that after, you feel like another person, let's say, because you're enriched with, that knowledge about every single, detail. And what I really, when I started the collection and when I started doing the fabric prints, I realized, during that process and even after when the collection was launched and selling, that the importance of the blenders is as much as the main prints. And I remember that Pat, she would usually say, like, you cannot have like all the main prints. You have to know and you have to think about the blenders because they're as much as important as the main designs because of the quilting and the quilters, because how they are going to use the prints in the blocks. And that's certainly the thing that I learned, that the importance of the collection is to speak, let's say, to the quilters, but also that the people that are just garment makers and stuff, that they would also be pleased with using some prints for them, for their creations. And what I also learned, and it was like really hard to get that, is the negative space is also so very important. Not all designs can be, dense and, spreaded in the same way. And what I also learned, I think that in the quilting world, less is always more, like in sense of, design and how design is spreaded, let's say, and how many colors are used. I don't know if it does make any sense, but, it was
No, that
really like,
that does make sense because people are going to be, cutting this fabric up
yes,
sometimes quite
costing.
small into little triangles, for example, and
Yeah,
that are sometimes, 2 inches, or something like that,
exactly.
and then sewing it back together. And so what you're saying is the negative space and sort of less is more as far as
Yes,
design and colors is an important thing to keep in
exactly.
mind.
Yes. And that was a little bit, for me, I couldn't get that because I was like, the fabric and the print has to be pretty. And what is like, the print that is all in one color with just a few things of something like a spot, But then when you start cutting fabrics, and using them, you realize that it is very important to have a few of these, spread it in the collection.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. I think that's really helpful advice for people, because really when you are a quilter, these fabrics are your paints almost. And so this
Yeah,
is what you
exactly.
have to choose from. And you need a variety of choices.
Yeah.
So, I think that's really helpful. I want to make sure we talk about your children because I am fascinated with the fact that your kids are competitive ballroom dancers. And I would be remiss if we didn't talk about this because I have to tell you, Nina, I've spent like way too much time on your Instagram watching your kids dance. You've got just like a few videos. It's not like overwhelming. It's like every a few months or something like that, you'll post a video of one of their dance competitions that you've traveled to or something. And I mean, I showed them to my kids. So my kids are around the same age of your kids. And you and I are the same age. I was actually born in the same year you were born. And anyway, so my kids have also watched them. And it's pretty incredible. So anyway, I just wondered if you could talk a little bit about that life of being a mom of ballroom dancing kids and whether that's sort of more common in Serbia or in Belgrade than it is here in the US or not, if it's unusual there, and sort of what that life is like.
Yeah, actually, if you enjoy my video, you should watch my husband's videos because he has an Instagram account only for them.
Oh my gosh. Okay. After we get off, I'm going to go follow him.
Oh my God. Yes, he's so supportive. I mean, I'm so happy to have him. And as he's Italian, actually, the ballroom dance is quite in his blood, let's say, because, Italians and, all those Latin types are more, I think, into ballroom dancing than actually we in Serbia. In Serbia, no, ballroom dancing is not something that is so popular. We're more into sports like football or basketball or tennis, something that is very, spread and common here. And I think also regarding the ballroom dancing, that Russia is one of the countries that is absolutely, the number one, and they are very popular. And I think it's the sport that is like the first in their country. But we are so proud of our kids because they are, so good. I think we enjoy, watching them. And when they compete, we are, it's a lot of work. It's also a lot of money because, all the classes that they have, and they have a lot of private classes, and they really cost. It's something that, on a month base, it's really so much. But after, when you see them competing and you see them, how happy they are and how realized they feel, I think it's really, really worth, all the money and all the time and all the stress, of course, that you gain during those competitions and, stuff. But it's also very nice for them to have, friends, because they go to competitions and they, merge with some people, with some kids of their age from other countries, because they also travel for their competitions also abroad, and it's so rewarding, from
and do you do some of the sewing for your daughters, the dresses?
I'm so proud that actually at the beginning I was feeling like it's something that is, over my my possibilities because of all the stress and all the sequins and all the, things that would be applied to all the cloths and fabrics. But after, when I realized it's just the glue or it's just the technique of doing things and applying, I actually become very good on sewing those costumes for them. I mean, not for my because I have two girls and one boy. For my boy, I just did once a shirt for no, just twice. Yeah, twice I did a shirt for him. But for them, I usually sew all the outfits that they are, using. And also to buy those kind of outfits, it's so much money. It's like $1,000 for an outfit. So actually, by doing them by myself, we are also like earning so much because we are not spending those money.
Amazing. Yeah. And they're just beautiful. So I would recommend if people want to check out, of course, your fabric, but also kind of want to take a peek at what we're talking about, just to go on your Instagram and see it, because all of it is remarkable, but they are also remarkable. So congratulations on all of those different things. And I want to make sure we get to your list of recommendations, and you have 3 cool recommendations. So you wanted to recommend a book that I have seen floating around for a long while now, and I have not actually checked it out myself. So this is the Splendid Sampler book 2, though. This is the second book by Pat Sloan and Jane Davidson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm so lucky that I can call both of them my friends, because each time when I go to US, I'm so lucky to spend a few, let's say, even minutes or hours with them, because they're so incredible. And they actually invited me to be one of the designers to do the blog for this second edition of the Splendid Sampler book. And I had a blog in it, and I'm so happy now because we have a group that I also encourage you to visit. It's on Facebook, and there are so many seamstresses and designers that they're sewing the blocks from the book and doing the very beautiful and big quilts from the blocks. And it's, I think, so amazing, to participate and be part of this sewing along occasions and happenings. And I'm really, really so proud of them to have a book like that, and to maybe being part of it.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. That's neat. So for people to check it out, I didn't realize there was an accompanying Facebook group too. So that's cool. I like the community aspect of that. And then you wanted to recommend some paints that it sounds like you enjoy. I don't know how to say the name. Is it Holbein Drawing Inks?
Yes. Actually, I really love inks, for painting, drawings, or everything, because I just like that watercolorish effect that you get when you blend the drop of the ink in the water. So I recently acquired them, and I was amazed with, how the inks are so strong and so good. So I can really, warmly recommend them.
Okay, cool. That's something good to experiment with. And then, of course, you enjoy Pinterest, which I think almost everybody does. But how are you using it?
Yeah, because, with each collection that we have, each fabric collection, we have to provide also the free quilt pattern, for instance. And then it's so nice to have, inspiration, gathered through Pinterest boards, and, to see at one place, how can you be, let's say, even inspired with some blocks and some techniques. I think that there is so much, that you can learn. But also, for instance, that you said regarding the ballroom dancing that my kids are doing, there are so many, amazing also costumes and things that you can, see, and also the techniques that you can learn. There are some, of course, there's also YouTube or some other websites, but I like that on Pinterest you can, have everything on one place, and in just one click you can, have a very good visualization of what's available.
Yeah, totally. And I also find if you're planning a new project, like a free pattern to go with your fabric line or something like that, you can create a secret board and just put all the different colors and ideas there. And it doesn't need to be something that the public sees, but it's really just literally like a pin board for your inspiration, and just kind of use it in the old fashioned way, having nothing to do with marketing your business or anything like that, but just to do with gathering ideas.
Yeah, it's good because it's online, and you can just, pin it, and that you save. It's very let's say, visually good, organized, because in one click you can, have everything that you pinned, and you don't have to go, because sometimes, I just screenshot something with my phone and then I forget, where did I save it? So sometimes it's a mess. But on Pinterest, I think it's very, nice and very handy to have everything, just with a few clicks.
Absolutely. Well, Nina, thank you so much. This has been fantastic. And thank you for taking the time to talk with me and to be on the While She Naps podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy and so grateful for this invitation and for this show. And I cannot believe that 1 hour just flew away in like a second.
I know. It goes by really fast.
Yes.
Thank you. And you've been listening to the While She Naps podcast. I'm Abby Glassenberg. Visit my blog, whileshenaps.com, where you can sign up for my email newsletter to get the best in sewing, blogging, and small business delivered right to your inbox each week. Today's episode was sponsored by SAQA. If you want to see and hear more about art quilts, join Studio Art Quilt Associates, a global community of over 3,500 artists, professionals, collectors, and art quilt enthusiasts. Visit www.saqua.com/join to find out more details about SAQA's membership benefits. Use the code NAP to receive $10 off your first year membership. So check it out at saqua.com/join. Thank you so much, SAQA. And if you enjoy the show, tell a friend about it. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.